Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. With the crisis in Kashmir dominating the news and our television screens, we devote the entire episode today to some of the critical questions that are crying out for answers. Has the civilian administration completely disappeared? Has the National Disaster Management Authority been rendered ineffective because its top leadership was removed and not replaced? Should the army be given full control of the rescue and setting up of relief camps? Should governor's rule replace the faltering government? And beyond that, how do we tackle the key challenges of communication, preventing epidemics, and finally rebuilding the devastated state? Those are the key issues we shall cover over the next 1 hour.
People were throwing stones at us from here.
And now joining me for our special discussion is the former Sadr-e Riyasat and Central Minister Dr. Karan Singh, former Vice Chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority Shashidhar Reddy, former Divisional Commissioner and Secretary to the Government of India Wajahat Habibullah, former GOC&C 15th Corps Lieutenant General S.A. Hasnain. Also joining us shortly, someone who has personal experience of the trauma Kashmir is suffering, Hina Shafi. And headline today is roving editor Mahrukh Inayat. Before I come to the critical steps that are necessary to tackle the crisis in Kashmir, I want to begin with the impressions that have been very clearly conveyed to the rest of us outside the state, both by the newspaper coverage as well as by the television coverage. First, Mahrukh Inayat, we seem to have got the impression outside Kashmir that the civilian administration has completely disappeared. In fact, we get the impression it's virtually non-existent. Is that the feeling in Kashmir, in Srinagar itself?
Absolutely, Karan. So ever since yesterday when I landed here, I've been to the two major affected areas in Srinagar, the two localities that have been the worst hit. One is Kursu Rajbagh and the other is Mahjood Nagar. Both the areas are submerged under 10 to 12 feet of water, with most houses up to second story completely filled with water, and some family members and relatives of most of the locals still inside the home. But what is completely missing on the ground is any presence of any civil administration officer. There are NDRF boats, there are army boats, which again are less in number. Compared to the kind of expectation of this calamity or whatever interpretation that either the center or the state government had, that is completely negligible compared to the situation on the ground. And what is really making people extremely angry is neither there anybody from the political establishment, which perhaps they never had any, faith in the first place, is what they're expressing, but nobody from the civil administration. So I have covered a stretch of about 15 kilometers across Srinagar, and I have not come across a single JK police officer or Jawan. I have not come across a single desk which is managing the different agencies. So what is resulting because of this mess is the fact that nobody knows what to do. I spoke to some NDRF Jawans also who spoke off the record and said that we don't know what to do. We don't know this locality. We don't know where to go. We've just been asked to come here and we're just doing whatever we do on the ground. But there's nobody that's really helping people out or directing them. The most important part of this rescue operation is direction, which is completely lacking.
Wajahat Habibullah, you've served in Kashmir, you were Divisional Commissioner in the valley itself. How do you explain, how do you account for this complete disappearance of the civilian administration? You just heard Mahrukh say she's been there for 24 hours, she's travelled extensively in the valley, and she hasn't come a single policeman, she hasn't come across a single civilian official of the government, and people are complaining. How do you account for this?
Well, unfortunately, I have to confirm that because I spoke this morning. I managed to get through to my friend Muhammad Shafi Pandit, who has also been a Divisional Commissioner of Kashmir, and his wife is Nikhat Pandit, who is a member of the Indian Council for Child Rights, and also has set up the Health Foundation. What do they tell you? But this is exactly what I want to confirm. Exactly this, that they don't see the presence on the television channels. One is being told that that so many people have been rescued, that the disaster management agency is working, but they say that there is no presence of anyone. The army, yes, but no presence of any civil administration or any government at all.
How do you account for that?
Of course, firstly, there has been this fact that there has been a breakdown of communication, and therefore people are unable to communicate, but that lack of communication should have been made up by the civil administration.
And that's absent.
But that is absent. The civil administration should have been carrying the messages. Civil administration should have been responsible for rehabilitating the people. The army has been rescuing people and bringing them to certain points and so on, but that is not happening.
Dr. Karan Singh, and what is happening as a result of this complete disappearance, the complete absence of the civil administration, the complete absence of policemen, is there are outbursts of anger? We're now learning about relief helicopters being stolen. We are discovering that in fact rescue boats are being have glasses being thrown at them. People are angry. Is that anger at this point understandable, or does it actually worry you because it is for potential for a bigger, larger fury that's getting pent up?
Well, it is certainly worrisome and unfortunate, but there are two things I'd like to say, Karan. One is that the media began by incorrectly saying this was the worst flood in 60 years. It wasn't. I was Sadr-e-Riyasat 60 years ago. That flood was nothing like this. This is the worst flood in living memory, number one. Secondly, it was a double whammy. We were hit in Kashmir and we were also hit in Jammu. Don't forget, you again using Kashmir all the time. The state is Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu was also hit. There was a lot of damage. There was a lot of damage in the Rajouri district. There was a lot of damage in Riyasi. There was a lot of damage in Jammu city itself. So this double whammy that hit us immediately, I think, has thrown the whole administration out of gear. And I myself am very pained to hear reports that the administration seems to have evaporated.
But as someone who's been governor of the state in Sadr-e-Riyasat, how do you account for this complete evaporation of the administration? I can't think of a better adjective. It's not just collapsed. A collapsed administration has debris. This is just evaporated.
Yes. It's very surprising. Maybe one reason could be that the people involved, the policemen and others involved, they themselves were in difficulties. Their families themselves were in danger. So perhaps they were not able to give any attention to the public. They were looking after themselves.
Okay.
That is the only explanation I can think of.
Mr. Shashidhar Reddy, writing in today's Indian Express, Muzammil Jaleel has a second possible explanation to offer for what I call the evaporation and disappearance of the administration. He says the breakdown of the administration is because there wasn't a system in place to handle such a crisis. He says, for example, the civil administration doesn't have a single satellite phone. Now, as someone who was until very recently vice chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority, how do you account for the fact that the government in Kashmir is so utterly unprepared for what's happened? It's not just that the scale is enormous, but they were unprepared for it totally.
Yeah, I think, there's no doubt that the scale has been enormous, and that probably took everybody by surprise, and probably the local people getting affected, their families and others. This has also contributed for the entire thing to go awry. But I think the magnitude of this has been such that it has been overwhelming, and
Can I interrupt?
I also see
Can I
that,
interrupt? You know, the magnitude of what happened last year in Uttarakhand was overwhelming, and no doubt the civil administration was badly affected, but it didn't completely disappear. Here, what is annoying people is that they can't find a policeman. There isn't a single control center set up by the government, as the Hindu reports today. Politicians are not visible. The whole system seems to have just, as I said, evaporated.
Well, I think the difference is, last year it was Uttarakhand, and this time it is Jammu and Kashmir. And Jammu and Kashmir, the situation, because of various other aspects of security related aspects in the past, the army's presence has been, in terms of...
Yes, but that doesn't explain the disappearance of the civil administration. Are you very lucky the army is there to step in and play a role. Let me bring in General Hasnain. General Hasnain, you have served as GOCNC 15th Corps, It is the army that is in fact stepping in and carrying out the entire rescue operation such as it is at the moment. There are said to be some 6 lakh people who are still stranded. Although 1 lakh have been rescued, there are 6 lakh more to rescue. And at the same time, the army has onerous security and defense responsibilities as well. Can you, in these circumstances, function on both sides equally effectively at the same time?
Karan, I had explained this yesterday in the show also. You see, this is an emergency. And in an emergency, the army can always hold both fronts. It's done it before. It's done it many times before. And we are not asking the army to take on a permanent responsibility. Maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks, since the government itself may be paralyzed because its personnel are themselves affected. Well, the army has also got its personnel affected. But the army has got the capacity to fly in more people. It's got officers and men from other sectors who can come in and establish the command and control. It's got the technological capability with them. You see, they are organizers. They are basically trained to be organizers. So I don't see any negativity about the feasibility of the army being able to undertake both responsibilities. And after all, what other options?
Can I interrupt you at that point, General Hasnain? One of the things that is critically needed at the moment to make the rescue effective and also to make it swift is boats. Most of Srinagar, most of the valley is inundated. Access is only by boats. Now, there are reports that in fact boats have arrived from elsewhere in India but are lying at Srinagar airport and not cleared because the civilian administration is not there to clear them. Can the army step in and overcome that problem? Because without boats, you can't rescue, and yet those boats are there and some sort of hassle or some sort of red tape is holding them up. Can the army step in and just take over?
I think the army can very well do that, but what reports I have is that the army is also centralizing the distribution of resources, and that is understandable. There are requests coming into me personally from different people that actually private agencies are available there. There are people willing to take on the resources and carry out the work on their own. Perhaps the army needs to take a call on that and see, is it feasible for them to distribute this work? After all, boats also require personnel to manage, and the army may not be having all the personnel to do this.
Okay. Now, very quickly, Mr. Reddy, something else that is a major issue of concern is that the Modi government seems to have rendered the National Disaster Management Authority somewhat ineffective. It removed all the top officials that it inherited from the previous government, but 3 months later, it hasn't replaced them with new officials. So is a leaderless NDMA another reason why we are not functioning as effectively as we should be in that critical situation in Kashmir today?
You know, what you've used for the administration in Jammu and Kashmir can very well be used for the NDMA. NDMA has literally evaporated, even though the Prime Minister himself is the chairman of the authority. It's headless, bodiless for almost 3 months now, and I think certainly, I've been talking to people, and then when I was asked about the mandate of NDMA and things like that, I said there is a system, there is a response mechanism, everything is there, but the people who are looking after this, be it the Home Minister or the MOS Home, they look at disaster management along with all other things.
Can I stop you? Before we make a general point about disaster management, because that's for later on, to what extent is the performance of the NDMA in Kashmir today crippled or at least badly damaged by the fact you're leaderless? It's been said that NDMA is not present anywhere, and that has been very evident. So you accept that in fact the leaderless nature of the NDMA means that in fact the NDMA too has evaporated and is not functioning effectively in the valley. You agree with that, do you?
Yes, I certainly agree with that.
To what extent does the Modi government have to eventually, maybe not today obviously, but eventually answer for this? Because this is a second critical factor that is holding back effective rescue and leading to that frustration boiling into anger from the Kashmiri people.
Well, you see, it's not only a question of the Modi government, it's a question of the whole structure. For example, the Central Water Commission does not have Jammu and Kashmir on its chart at all.
But come back to this for a moment before we widen it. To what extent is this something Modi will have to answer for eventually? Because the NDMA is a critical institution when rescue in a crisis like this is necessary. It's leaderless, and it's, as Mr. Reddy says, it's evaporated too.
Well, I would agree that the institutions of this nature do need to be given their heads, and particularly this kind of an organization which came into being as a consequence of a major tragedy, because we realized we had no such mechanism, and then having got such a mechanism, we have squandered it. So certainly that is a question of accountability.
General Hasnain, in this critical circumstance where we're talking about a civilian administration that has evaporated, it's not just collapsed, it's literally disappeared, where the NDMA, because it's leaderless, is not functioning, and Mr. Reddy's openly said the NDMA could be also considered to have evaporated, everything now falls on the army. And as I said a moment ago, there are still some 6 lakh people stranded to rescue. Do you think you need to be formally given the central coordinating role in the rescue? Or have you already assumed that on your own? General Hasnain?
Oh, well, as I again come back to you on that, Karan, the problem is everyone is questioning the capability of the army to be able to handle a dual role. I think, as I said before, there are enough officers there, experienced people. We have formations on the line of control which have got their responsibility.
No, but I'm asking a different question, General Saab. I'm interrupting you. I'm saying, given that everything now depends on the army because the civilian administration's evaporated, the NDMA is really not functioning effectively, do you need to be formally given the central coordinating role in rescue? Or is that, in fact, a role you've already assumed for yourself?
Absolutely. And that will actually empower, strengthen the hands of the corps commander there, and possibly that of the army commander who may like to fly in additional manpower on in terms of officers and men into there. This will be an authority which will ensure that the army will perform its job even better than what it is.
Dr. Karan Singh, you're hearing what General Hasnain was saying before the line went down on us. He's saying that the army needs to be given that central role in coordination. It may actually have assumed it for itself, but it needs to be formally given it, because then he says it will empower the corps commander, it will empower the Northern Army commander to fulfill functions more effectively. As someone who served as governor, do you think that's a critical step the government in Delhi should take?
Well, that can certainly be done, but let me say one thing, Karan. You cannot write off the state administration. It has to revive, because the army can do and is doing a marvelous job. But ultimately on the ground you need the civil administration. So don't let us take the view that now the civil administration is gone forever. They have to come back, they have to be re-established. Then the army's role also will get more effective.
Okay.
You cannot leave it only to the army and write off the civilians.
You had a very interesting proposal which you thought might combine the defunct civilian administration, which Dr. Karan Singh says needs to be revived and has to revive, along with the much more effective army. You suggested to me just before the show began that perhaps we've reached a point where governor's rule should be imposed, so that under a different civilian head, the civilian side of the administration and the more effective army can actually combine forces together. Explain why you think that might be a critical step.
Well, this is not as a means of, my suggestion is not as a means of superseding the elected government over there, but because, of course, as we noticed, there have been all these difficulties. This would really, if the governor's rule brought in there, it would mean that the government of India takes full responsibility. The civil administration works, the military authority works, and the political leadership is free to actually go and work with the people, because what is critical?
But the critical corollary to what you're saying is that actual then charge of the operation will no longer be with Omar Abdullah and his government. It would have come to the governor. Omar Abdullah and his fellow politicians will then be free to work amongst the people as MLAs and as representatives.
Because in my view it is critical at this particular time, the young people there, they are the ones who are working. The army is of course doing their work, but young people, as Amitabh also told you, in rescuing people, bringing them to safety, the young people are working there. They can be mobilized by the political leadership.
Hina Shafi, you've joined us and I'm very grateful to you for coming to this program. You were one of those who actually was caught in the floods when it happened 2-3 days ago. You had a horrific time escaping from the valley. Do you share the impression that everyone on this show is echoing, that the civil administration has completely collapsed? In fact, it's disappeared.
I could not see a single state authority people anywhere, the administration, neither the cops, nobody. When we got out, when I got my parents out yesterday from Tulsi Bagh, the government quarters where VVIPs live, where my father was residing, we could not see anybody.
Absolutely
Nobody.
one.
I have walked through water myself, got into the boat, only the army boats, whatever was sent from Delhi, from different states, got into boats, got them out. And everybody is working this way only.
Would then the suggestion either that the central coordinating key role in rescue be given to the army, or Wajahat Habibullah's suggestion that in fact governors rule take over,
Definitely,
so that the civilian administration of the army can come on?
Definitely, I agree. They're doing the best. We don't expect anything from the government right now. Nobody, not even a single Kashmiri.
Would governor's rule be more reassuring for the people of Kashmir?
Yes, yes. Either the governor's rule, army is taking over, we don't care. But the lives of Kashmiri should be saved. We don't care. Otherwise also Umar Abdullah's government is seen nowhere.
Shashidhar Reddy, beyond this whole question of rescue is the second question of what you then do with the people who are rescued. At the moment it seems there are no camps. At the moment it seems there are no effective state-run feeding arrangements. And secondly, there doesn't seem to be a list of people available who've been rescued. It seems from the accounts we're getting that when people are rescued, they're literally dumped on dry ground and left to fend for themselves. How do we tackle this?
Yeah, this is happening.
Well, I think, an effective disaster management plan and inventory of resources and situations like this, I saw some account of, on television of food being prepared and things like that, but all this needs to fall into place. I think this is going to be a little long drawn, this whole...
I'm asking you a slightly more pointed question. It hasn't fallen into place, and it has to fall into place immediately. Because now you have people being rescued, dumped on dry ground, there are no camps for them, there are no proper feeding arrangements for them. What do we do?
No, I mean this has to be on taken up on a war footing. Mobilize teams that could reach out to them in terms of food, in terms of medical requirement. That's going to be, that can also turn critical.
But the question, Mr. Reddy, is who's going to take it on at a war footing? There is no civil administration to take it on. Who's going to step in and do this? That's the question I'm asking you.
Well, the civil administration certainly will have to.
But they're not present. They've disappeared. They can't be seen. Even the police can't be seen. At the moment, according to Mujammal Jaleel writing in the Indian Express, people are making their own arrangements to set up their own relief camps to feed themselves. Local mosques and gurdwaras have stepped into the breach. Mohalla committees are doing the job. But surely you can't leave this huge scale of relief requirement to such small scale ad hoc responses. You need something more institutional.
This is correct. This is being done. This is the feedback that I also have, and Hina will be able to confirm that. The point is that it's being done voluntarily in the Kashmir University. There is the Hurriyat has been setting up Islamia College and so on, camps for people, but these are all small scale.
Absolutely.
These cannot be taken.
Get done at the state level?
This is the point that I made. This is the point that I made earlier. If the young people could be mobilized to do that in an organized manner, the state government administration itself does not have to be doing this. If they simply organize these people.
But that's an idea, and no one is there to tell Umar Abdullah or his police or his politicians to go and mobilize the young.
But let me tell you,
they can't mobilize themselves.
I am also chairman of the National Institute of Technology, and I've given instructions to the director to try and mobilize the youth of the National Institute of Technology, who some people start.
Let me bring in General Hussain at this point. General Hussain, is this we don't have that line to General Hussain. Hopefully we'll get it back in a moment's time. Dr. Karan Singh, you were a little skeptical of the suggestion that too much reliance on the army is not essential. You need to ensure that the civilian government recovers and exercises its authority and starts to function. But I'm just pointing out to you Mujammal Jaleel's reports, and there are several such reports, that in fact once people are rescued, they're dumped on dry ground, There are no camps for them, there is no feeding arrangement, and local people, local gurdwaras, local masjids are taking on the task, but they can't do it at the scale and the level required. So should this therefore be something else that's given to the army, because the army could do it?
So the army is doing a fabulous job and will do it, but you cannot ultimately run a state with lakhs of people without a civil administration in position.
Dr. Karan Singh, I'm interrupting you. I'm not talking ultimately do. That is 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road. I'm talking about what happens now.
Straight away. I'll tell you.
What happens now?
I'll tell you. My view is that this government has already almost ended its term. Elections are due in a few months. Perhaps a spell of governor's rule is the only alternative. The governor happens to be a very senior and experienced administrator.
All right. You're therefore recommending
rule without any political controversy.
You're recommending immediate governor's rule. You're recommending immediate governor's rule.
Yes, but with the consent of the state government, not dismissal or anything. If all the parties were to agree to let the governor step into the breach and see what happens, so within 6 months there can be fresh elections, and we would at least be able to get this whole terrible situation under some kind of control.
I'm joined at the moment now by Lieutenant General Jaswal, former Army Commander, Northern Command. Unfortunately, the line to General Hasnain has broken. He is no longer with us. General Jaswal, you understand Kashmir just as well as General Hasnain did. Earlier, we established that the army is critical and needs to be given formally the key central role in rescue. We've now moved on and we're talking about what happens after rescue. At the moment, when people are rescued, they seem to be dumped on dry ground. There are no relief camps for them. There are no proper organized feeding facilities. Local masjids, local gurdwaras are taking up these tasks. Mohalla committees are doing it, but that's clearly not sufficient at a statewide level. Can the army, and you know the army better than most people, can the army step in and in addition to rescuing 6 lakhs who are stranded, also run relief camps and feeding operations for the people they rescue? Can you take on this as well?
Karan, we definitely do take on such like operations, the follow-up operations. If you go back, when the earthquake had come, we had established certain points over there where we were taking care of the people for quite some time, and we did establish certain model villages. We reconstructed villages.
We'll come to reconstruction later, because that's at a much later stage, General Jaswal. But at this moment, and I'm talking about a function that the army would have to take on in the next few hours, can you, in addition to rescuing the 6 lakh who are still stranded, also set up relief camps and run them, set up feeding facilities for those people you rescue? Can you do that as well? Answer that for me, please, sir.
Yes, we do. We can. But what exactly is the in terms of how much we can will depend upon the local commander. How much forces can he spare for this? But in snow tsunami also, which came in
Can I interrupt again? Forgive me. I don't want to go back to the snow tsunami. Can you beef up force numbers from Delhi? Could the army chief, who's actually visiting Srinagar today, and therefore will have a first-hand appreciation of how crippled or how non-existent the civil administration is, can he put in quickly additional forces to beef up those already present so the army can do both rescue as well as relief camps and feeding? Is that a decision he could take?
He's already made a statement. There are enough troops already, and I think some additional column has come. There has to be a balance which has to be struck. I mean, we can't keep pumping in the army all over here. The commanders on ground can appreciate how much is required, how much optimum force is required, and they would be able to manage that.
But the important thing is that you are saying to me with great confidence as a former Army Commander, Northern Command, that the army can take on the additional task of running relief camps and feeding those rescued. This is in addition to the rescue.